And this is a report I was going to bring you this week, but today, just today, devastating news about an avalanche there that has seriously injured and potentially killed a climber there. Following is a conversation with Angele Benevides. She is a journalist and she writes for Explorers Web. She was on this podcast and YouTube channel recently talking about the K2 situation with garbage and human waste. I recently interviewed her about the situation on Manaslu. Now, this is going back about 2 weeks, and we talked about the potential garbage situation there and the changing times on Manaslu, on how the actual summit has been revealed to be higher than what had previously been believed, therefore rendering null and void many climbers' claims to have summited Manaslu previously. No big deal, really, right? What's 100 feet? But for somebody wanting to claim that they've climbed all of the 14 8,000 meter peaks, it is a game changer. This year, over 1,000 people are at Manaslu Base Camp, and this is a report I was going to bring you this week, but today, just today, devastating news about an avalanche there that has seriously injured and potentially killed a climber there. And also, I'm not a news reporter, so I'm not even going to say a name, the disappearance of a prominent North Face skier who had attempted to ski from the summit of Manaslu. This is just coming in today. Devastating. Angela's article that prompted a telephone call from me was called How Manaslu's True Summit Has Changed the Game. I asked her if she would talk to me a little bit about that and how this might impact future generations of climbers who are looking to have a pure experience on the mountains. Well, that's not going to happen anymore, especially on Manaslu, Everest, K2, you name it. As long as the commercial expeditions are offering very affordable expedition opportunities, the climbers will keep going. Although the news from Manaslu that is trickling in is devastating, I feel if I don't bring this interview to you today with Angela about the overcrowding situation on Manaslu, it will render the interview pretty much null and void. I'm going to bring it to you today. Before I go to my conversation with Angela, if you have not clicked the subscribe button, please do so now. Be a part of this community. I value your participation, your comments, and if you would, share it. So, Angela, tell me about what's been going on. You've reported on Explorers Web some really interesting articles that talk a little bit more about the changing times. At least it points it out to me. You put a report in on September 12th. So Manaslu has a true summit that over the many years leading up to this current time, most of the climbers who had summited the mountain, including those claiming to have climbed all 14 8,000 meter peaks, had gone to the subsidiary summit. And the reason they didn't go to the main summit, and I can show a photograph that you've included in your article about this, is the main summit is not far away, but it is very steep and difficult to reach. But now with this actually being a thing, that hitting the absolute true summit is important to these people collecting summits, many people are returning, and suddenly Manaslu is overwhelmed with climbers this year. From the looks of it, there's easily over 700 people in base camp, maybe 1,000. And it looks like a city. It looks bigger than Mount Everest right now. So what's happening there, and how is that going to go down? Because it's happening right now.
Well, there are many people repeating the mountain, but that's not the only reason why Manaslu is so overcrowded right now. Manaslu is a very attractive mountain because it's marketed as the right peak you want to go before you go for Everest, right? It's like the final test before climbing Everest. You climb Manaslu, you're ready for Everest. You know everything you need to know, right? It's easy until that final point, until that fourth summit, right? It's pretty straightforward if conditions are right. Of course, we're talking about high altitude climbing, so term easy is probably not very accurate, but it's very well, it's can be very well fixed, all the routes, right? Now, what's new this year, right? There's been always this debate, especially in the post-monsoon season when the mountain is covered in snow. It's not as dry as in spring. You have this place which actually looked like a summit, but it's not, right? If you climb the snow dome to the point, you will see that there's a ridge, a very sharp snow ridge, usually in snow, going straight ahead, then a little bit to the left, right? And Sherpa teams with a commercial expedition, they usually don't risk to take clients on that ridge. So they usually put the end of the ropes at the end of that, actually a four summit, right? They look like a summit. The summit pictures look great. You can just walk up to the point. It was great, right? I have to say that Manaslu is quite a mystery because there are many climbers who purposely passed the end of those fixed ropes. They went up the ridge. They reached a point where they swore, and I do have no reasons to believe they are not telling the truth. I'm sure they were honest, and they say, okay, so everything is down. This is the real summit of Manaslu, and it was not. I don't really know. What is something like the ridge going somewhere, or maybe from that point you don't see any higher, but there's actually a higher point, which was completely clear. It came completely clear last 1 year ago, when there was a drone pilot, right, photographer who was on the fourth summit at the end of ropes. Drone, he made it fly. He took a footage of all around the summit area of the mountain. He shared everything on Instagram without knowing he had discovered that himself and his mates were quite far from the summit. And they were, I don't know, but it was when you see the pictures, right? I mean, those pics are everywhere, right? Yeah. So what we have now this year is that now it's clear. The usual end of the ropes is not the summit. If you really want to reach the summit, you have two options. Either climb on the edge of the ridge or try to traverse from that until you get exactly below the highest point, and then you climb up, right? The problem is that you cannot take the hundreds and hundreds of climbers who are right now on the mountain at the same time, in the same day. The final ridge you can only have one person going to the summit and back, right? Wow. So that's going to be really interesting. It depends on the weather. If we have a long summit window, things will be easier. But if we have a short summit window with 1 or 2 days or 2 good days, let's see how they manage to get people there. And then let's see how conditions are, right? Because snow ridges are sometimes unstable, be heavily corniced, right? With the snow that can break. So that's why we're going to follow the season with an interest.
Yeah. And, with all the advent and all the new climbers who are out there, who Reinhold Messner says, these are mountain tourists, these aren't real alpinists. These are people who have relied so incredibly on the fixed rope being there. And in a situation like that last few hundred feet on Manaslu, this is real climbing kind of stuff. Even with fixed ropes, you have to have real guts to step out on that steep ridge. It looks like about 85 degrees steep in a snow slope there. The possibility for some disasters is looming, and I pray it doesn't happen. K2 avoided it all. It was just a garbage dump, which is sad, but we just have to hope for good weather. But do you see any end to this mountain tourism, or is it just going to keep getting bigger and bigger?
I see no end right now. It's really attractive. Not in the short term, at least, right? It will get more and more expensive, but there's rich people everywhere, right? I think it's like sometimes it looks like the second best option after space tourism, right? Maybe you cannot pay to board these spacecraft, but at least you can climb Everest, or why not, which is the what is marketed right now, the 14,000ers, all these peaks one after the other. And as for danger looming on Manaslu, I don't know. Danger was looming on K2 this summer with so many people because, there's this big, the huge shack above the bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot control, and it's completely unpredictable. You cannot tell when it's going to break, right? So, but as for Manaslu, if conditions are not good, they are not going to get into the real summit. That's for sure, right?
Yeah.
As for new climbers, well, the Sherpa guides are really good.
Yeah.
They really show up ropes their clients, and what you can see right now is people with no experience, but they are absolutely motivated, and they completely trust their guides, right? So if the guides say you go, they go. So it's going to be a responsibility for the Sherpas guiding clients and for the Sherpa team fixing the ropes. Because the problem is that both on the ridge and on the traverse, everything is covered in snow. They'll have to see how stable is that, because they don't have to hold the weight of one climber. They have to hold the weight of hundreds, one after the other, right? So the anchors have to be well secured. I cannot tell how far is the rock beneath the snow in order to try and secure. So it's going to be interesting. Last year, there was only one team who reached the real summit, led by a Nepalese Sherpa, by Mingma Ji, and they used snow anchors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it held perfectly okay for the team. I think it was, I don't know, a total of 14, 15 people summit, one after the other, with not all at the same time. But let's see this year. Let's see how it turns out. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be a huge responsibility for those fixing the ropes and leading the clients.
Thank you so much, Angela, for taking time out of your day to talk to me about the situation on Manaslu and beyond. To my channel subscribers and my members, thank you for the love. I'll see you all real soon. Peace out.